Good morning again, and welcome to the Brenda Perryman Show. And I have this statement for you. Every cat has a tale for millions of cats each year, and it starts at a shelter. Cat shelters around the country need your help to improve their services and facilities to better care for the cats that are waiting forever homes. Actress, singer, songwriter, and cat owner Mandy Moore is here to share with us how you can help support shelter cats across the country, including one in our state that is very good. Good morning.
Yes. Hello,
Hello?
Brenda.
Yes.
Hey, cool. I need to patch you through to Mandy. Are you ready for your interview?
Okay.
Sorry,
All
it just sounded
right.
like you were talking to me and introducing me as if I was Mandy and I'm just the producer.
Okay, we're ready.
I'm sorry, and also if I could get you to speak up just a little bit, it's really hard to hear you on this line. I know she's going to have
Oh,
trouble hearing you inside the
I'm
shelter, too.
I'm loud.
Okay, thanks. You are. That actually was way, way better. So I'm
Okay,
going to patch you
thank
through
you.
right now, Brenda. Thank you so much. Okay,
So she should be coming online just a second.
Hello, Brenda.
Hi, Mandy. How are you?
I'm well. How are you?
Oh, just fine. My intern here at the station, she loves A Walk to Remember. She loves that.
Oh,
Uh-huh.
thank you.
I think that's a cult favorite. I really
It really
do.
is.
It really, really is. And I'm a former drama teacher. I taught drama for 39 years, and so I just love your acting. You're very good, and
Thank
you've
you.
been acting a long time.
I have, yeah.
And what are some projects that you may be currently doing right now?
There's a couple things in the pipeline, but they're a little premature to talk about.
Oh,
But I've actually
okay.
been working on some music as of late. That's what I've kind of been doing
Well,
with my creative energy, writing some music, and hopefully we'll have a new record out in the next couple months.
well, you're a wonderful singer too. So,
Thank you.
um, tell me about where you are today and what's happening there. Where are you right now?
Sure. I'm actually in Denver at the Max Fun Animal Adoption Center. Sitting
Oh,
here with my little friend Cornelia, who's on my lap here. And I'm working with Purina Cat Chow and their Building Better Lives campaign. The company is actually donating $275,000 to 50 different cat focus shelters around the country, one of which being this one here in Denver. We're helping with the big renovation project here. But we're actually asking people out, via social media, their social media channels, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, to share their story of adoption and rescue with the hashtag #MyRescueStory. And if we can get 1,500 people to do that, then Purina Cat Chow has said they're going to donate an additional $50,000 to pet finder.
wow.
Yeah,
You,
so
you,
I feel like that's a pretty easy thing people at home can do.
well,
Try
my
to be
daughter adopted a shelter cat from
Yeah.
right here in Michigan from the Dearborn shelter in
Yeah,
Michigan.
that's actually Friends for the Dearborn Animal Shelter is the shelter in your area that's going to be benefiting from the donation. And we have 4 shelter cats at home and 2 rescue dogs as well. So we're big fans, big advocates of rescuing in our house.
Obviously, how do you do it with more than one pet in your house? I don't know.
It's a lot of work. It's a lot of responsibility. It's actually hard to leave. Both of us, it's hard to leave at the same time. One normally has to be at home with all of the animals, but it's worth it. You know, the quality of life that pets bring into your world. There's nothing like it.
Well, tell us again how we as an audience and my audience can help the shelters.
Sure. I mean, certainly you can volunteer at your local animal shelter or animal welfare organization in your area. But for people interested, they can log on to catchow.com and see the 50 different shelters around the country that are going to benefit from this
You
program.
said cat chow,
Catchow.com.
right? Like Purina cat chow.
Exactly, catchow.com. And then that hashtag, just using that hashtag and sharing your story of animal rescue with hashtag #MyRescueStory and help us unlock that $50,000 donation.
Well, I appreciate that because my daughter's and my grandson's cat is called Moses, and that's the one they got from the Dearborn Animal Shelter. And
Oh, so
my
sweet.
My daughter, them are gone out of town, and my grandson's here with me at the station today, and we have to go feed Moses after after the show. So,
Absolutely, absolutely.
I mean,
they're
they're wonderful animals too that you get from the shelter. You know,
they're the best. They love you unconditionally. They're so happy that you've rescued them and sort of given them a forever home that they never forget it. That's for sure.
wow. Well, we appreciate what you do, and I really commend you for having all the cats. And
I commend you too. You guys are rescuers as well.
well,
We're all
also,
doing our part, right?
well, what made me impressed was a friend of mine, her son. He got a cat from the shelter, and they called me for a recommendation. Would he be a good owner for a cat? I mean, they really take care of who they're funny about who they let have cats. And
Yep, absolutely. They want to put them in responsible homes.
absolutely. So, catchow.com, hashtag, and they tell
My
the
rescue
story.
story. Yeah, thank you so much for having me and helping us draw more attention to this cause.
And thank you so much, Mandy.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Wow. Wow.
She
Everybody. That was Mandy Moore. And if you have an animal, well, of course, nobody wants to mistreat animals, but they do. But I'm going to talk to my next guest right now that I'm really excited about because he has quite a story. I'd like you to meet Kahn Davison. Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
Excellent.
Do you have a pet?
No, I don't. Well, we have a goldfish.
Oh, yeah. But when I was like 4 years old, the color of the goldfish box and the Tide box was the same color, and I put the Tide in the goldfish bowl. I killed my goldfish. But yeah, goldfish is pretty maintenance free.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Kahn, tell everybody where you're from. You're from here, I know.
Yep, from Detroit, Michigan. Born 1976, Sinai Hospital.
Wow. What was the date?
June 29th.
Oh wow, June baby. I mean, I had a baby in that hospital that year too. So you all real close in age. Now, Kahn, your mother was a music teacher, right?
Yes, she taught at Leslie Elementary School, which is now, I believe, Malcolm X Academy. I'm not sure if I have the name right, but it's a charter school now. It was closed for a few years and then reopened.
Oh, it did reopen.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. And I wanted you to tell the audience what happened to you when you were a young boy.
Well, basically, to keep it short and relevant, when I was 18 months old, for whatever reason, my father at the time, Oscar Davison, decided that he wanted to murder my mother, and he murdered her by hitting her in the back of the head. I'm not sure if it was one time or several times, but she passed away. He blew out all the potted lights on the stove, and the house filled up full of gas fumes, and I was in a high chair in the bathroom with the door shut. And at some point, he left the house. The neighbors had smelled gas. Her coworkers, my mother's coworkers at work, had reported she hadn't been to work in a couple of days. The police were called, and I was not pulled out, but kind of saved out the house before any explosion happened. And a couple of days later, my father was found in the garage of that same house with a self-inflicted gunshot wound to the chest. And my grandparents legally adopted me, became my guardians, and raised me till my grandmother passed from melanoma skin cancer in 92, and my grandfather passed from effects from prostate cancer in 1999.
And from what I read that you post on Facebook, I've been very, very taken with this. And first I want to ask you, you were in that bathroom for 2 days?
I am not sure. I've never seen, though I've tried to get the police report from that situation, but I've never actually seen it or know all the details, and particularly, some believe that that my father was there with me shortly before the police came, and some believe that I just might have been in that house for 2 days with my deceased mother. So, those details are somewhat murky, but nevertheless, the outcome was still the same.
Right, absolutely. And your parents raised you, and they raised you on what side of town?
The west side. I grew up right on Pinehurst, right behind Mumford High School,
Oh, okay.
between West McNichols and Curtis and Wyoming and Myers.
What kind of child were you? Were you spoiled?
Yeah, well, I was spoiled because I was the only child, and I would say that I was heavily sheltered. I went to Presentation Our Lady of Victory, which was a Catholic school from kindergarten to 5th grade. I only went to public school twice. I went to Halley Open Middle School for 7th and 8th grade. Then I was right back in Catholic school at St. Martin de Porres for high school.
Right.
And so by me being the only child, and as it would happen, I was just heavily protected, heavily sheltered, And my grandparents raised me with, it seemed like, a billion rules.
You had me laughing when we talked yesterday, about you were never allowed to, take things from people.
Yeah, they were big on me saying no thank you and thank you and no thank you. And I had one particular neighbor who only came in town maybe once every few weeks or so, and he would come in town, and whatever child was outside that time, he'd buy everybody ice cream from the ice cream truck. And my grandparents always told me, if he's out there, you don't accept any ice cream from him. And it wasn't that they didn't like him. It was just, you don't have to accept everything every time somebody offers you something. It's okay to say no thank you. It's okay, to pass on things. You don't feel like you're not needy. We're not poor, and you don't have to just keep your hand out all the time you're offered something.
So, it's funny, too, because you say that, and I know people who, whenever there's something free, they fight to get it. I mean, they fight to get it, just to have it. They may not even really want it, but just to have it. So that little lesson there, did you take that lesson on into life as you got older?
Yes, when I was
not
growing
lesson,
up,
rule.
a lot of things they taught me and showed me. I didn't question much, as a lot of kids didn't back then. I was told not to do something, and most times I just said okay. I just didn't. I never too much asked why I couldn't or why I couldn't do this. I just didn't do it, and it really took me being a parent now to really understand why I was allowed not to do certain things, encouraged to do certain things, why I was always constantly told certain things. So a lot of these memories and these lessons just come flooding back as I'm a parent now. My kids get older, and I'm like, that's why they always told me not to do that, and that's why they prevented this from happening, because they didn't want this outcome here.
There was one post you had about a car, and you thought you were going to get one kind of car.
Yeah, I graduated high school in 1994, and I was promised that I would get my first car after graduation. And so I had, at that time, I knew I wasn't going to get a new car. I knew my grandfather wasn't going to do that, but I thought I had my heart set on a 1992 Honda Accord. 2 years older, slightly older car. I said, this is me. And so we would go out to the car lots and the dealerships, and I finally found one. I said, Dad, this is it. Pop, this is me right here. And he looked at me and he said, so how does C. Graves get somebody a B+ car? And I didn't say anything else.
That's it. That's it. What do you notice now about the young people? Because you go around speaking to young people.
Yes. The biggest thing I notice, there are two things. One, as I was telling yesterday, that I try to encourage other people, specifically black men and males in my position, that have a story, have something to say that can communicate with kids, to go and do it. Because when I was 16, 17 years old, somebody coming to talk to my class or talk to me that was 35 or 40, I'd have anything in common with. I couldn't relate to that person. We didn't listen to the same music. We didn't dress the same. We didn't have the same interests. And now, when I go out, whether it's schools or community centers, the kids listen to Dr. Dre and Snoop, and I listen to Dr. Dre and Snoop. They have tattoos. I have tattoos. They like fast cars. I like fast cars. So, within hip hop culture, people blame it for so much, but it really has decreased the amount of space between generations and age gaps over the last 25 years.
Right. Do you think rap is better now than it was, or not?
What I would like is to have more diversity in it, because kids are impressionable.
Oh, yes.
And I remember when the era in, say, the early 90s, when X-Clan, and it was the Jungle Brothers, and it was Quest, and it was the Native Tongue, and it was this small pro-black movement within hip-hop. And I remember going to the gas station, getting my pleather African medallion for $5. And just the same, I remember a few years later going to the gas station and getting my NWA LA Raiders hat, because NWA always wore Raiders hats, and I wanted a Raiders hat. And kids, they're so impressionable. You see things in pop culture and on videos, and you emulate them, whether it's jargon, whether it's slang, whether it's clothing, attire, it's beverage choices. And so right now it just seems that there's not as much diversity on a popular level. It's like everything is geared towards just
making money, wearing the jewelry, and all of that. But the thing is, I always thought, maybe I'm wrong, sometimes it would be nice to show how you make that money on the video. Yeah. Well, some kind of way, because they just think you're there at the swimming pool with the hot babes around and everything, and everybody's going like this. It's really, they don't have an act. I always say, have an act. They just don't have an act to me. I mean, but you say at that time there was more message music.
Yeah, it was. Well,
some of it.
It was more diverse, and it was more available. Now there's arguably just as much, but you have to search for it. The people, the artists who say activist things and are active in the community and put out positive messages, they're not popular. They're not their videos aren't in constant rotation. Their music is not on the radio. They're out there, but you kind of have to go searching for them. People like Dead Prayers, or even locally here with artists like Invincible. These are artists that have strong messages, but they're just not on the cover of Vibe magazine and Sources and things like that.
Well, okay, a few weeks ago they had the thing with Trick and all that. That stuff that happened, and I was wondering, what was your opinion on that?
My opinion is I understand the reason it happened, but what I was more impressed is that individual was able to mobilize and organize over 100 people to take this stance and prevent a show from happening. And my thing is, if you have a brother that has that kind of access and that kind of power in the community, people need to reach out to him to make more things happen outside of stopping a concert.
Absolutely.
People need to reach out to him very sincerely and with true causes and true needs, and say, hey, you did that, can you help us with this, with that same kind of ability to mobilize people and encourage people?
Right, because along with fame comes responsibility, I believe. And I believe that if you have that much power, as you say, imagine what you can do with the young people, because young people follow you.
Yeah, definitely.
And as you were saying, the gap is growing. It's closer between your generation and the ones of the people in the schools, as far as music and certain things.
Right. I'm 38, and when I see a kid 16, I don't see too much of a difference. And I don't mean a difference of a 16-year-old version of me. I mean a difference of a 38-year-old version of me and a kid that's 16. It's not, that gap is not that big as to when I was 16 and a person was 38.
Well, let me get back to after high school, after Martin DePorres, what did you do?
After St. Martin de Porres, number one, first thing is that I was a very, very lackadaisical student. I graduated 4 years of high school with a 2.0 overall. And I tell my kids this because I tell them one of the most important things and I feel almost the most important thing in life is position. I put myself in a bad position. I graduated with 2.0, and when you put yourself in a bad position, you don't have options. And so my
Or
options,
your options are limited.
yes, my options were community college and Ferris. And at that time, everybody I knew that went to Ferris had came back and never went back. And so I said, okay. So I went to community college. I went to Oakland County Community College in Farmington, the Orchard Hills campus, and I had a teacher named Dr. R.J. Wiley. He was my first English composition teacher. And the first week, a couple writing assignments, and he said, Kahn, this writing thing, you're good. You need to take this more seriously. And I was set. I was off and running. I mean, I must have changed majors probably 10 times.
Really?
Yeah, because I was there for 3 years. Then I transferred to Oakland University for 3 years. But all of a sudden, I started getting 3 points. You know, I found my groove. I found something I like doing, and I found that I liked working hard in things that I like doing. And once I started getting a good GPA, I liked having good grades, and so I started working hard even in subjects and classes that I didn't like. But you know, I found how to motivate myself, and so I graduated in 2001 with a bachelor's in communication from Oakland University. But by the time I graduated, I had joined the Detroit Writers Guild that time, which was locally. I had wrote a couple little chap books. I had really gotten into spoken word poetry. I was just trying to understand the camera. Because I took journalism and photography classes in college. So, you know, my 6 years of college really opened me up to all the things I really wanted to do, and I understood working hard and how to create options for myself. And I had promised always to put myself in the best position possible, because you know, only thing you have control over is your position. You know, you don't have any control if you get the promotion. You don't have any control if you get the new job, if the teacher's going to get you an A. But if you put yourself in position for that to happen, that's all you can ask of yourself. You know, people always wonder, well, I'm not getting what I deserve, or why didn't this happen? Don't worry about why it didn't happen. Did you put yourself in the best position? So when that phone rung, when a knock on the door came, were you in position to take advantage out of it? Without saying, wait a minute, hold up, I got to get some stuff in order. No.
Right.
Stay in position. That's all you have control over. And if it doesn't happen, as my grandfather said, if it's for you, it'll happen. If it ain't for you, it won't happen.
Right. So you're a photographer.
Yes.
And you're a good one from the photos I've seen.
Thank you.
I mean, how do you get your business?
Word of mouth. I've marketed and advertised in different magazines over the years, but as you know, word of mouth is always. Nothing is better. Even my client base, my best clients are the referrals from other clients. Because when somebody tells you and shows you, this is who I use, this is where I went, and I am 510% ecstatic with my service, that's better than any commercial, any internet ad, any banner or video.
Oh, absolutely. When they know your name, because I always tell everybody, when all else is gone, all you have is your name.
Yes.
And how you make your name is up to that thing. What you were talking about just a few minutes ago, it's a bit of, I hate to use the term branding, but that's what it is.
Yeah, because you have control over your name, and I've had to turn down things, certain opportunities within photography, because it was a certain brand and certain image I wanted associated with me. And I always tell people that people confuse hustle and hustler. You know, I never looked at anything I've done as a hustle as a way to make money. You know, there are creative ventures I'm extremely passionate about that I charge a reasonable rate for. You know, they're not to add extra, dimes and nickels. You know, they're actually to support me and pay bills and pay mortgage. So that I always get really offended when people say, yeah, that's a real good hustle. No, it's not a hustle.
No, that's what you do.
Yeah, that's how I define myself.
Now, you just did a Kickstarter campaign. Can you tell us about it?
I started a T-shirt brand and company January 1st, www.beimmortal.net.
Immortal.
Right, and that's the mantra. And I'm one of those people, I question myself constantly. You know, I beat myself over the head of why do I feel the need to do certain things. And I came to a point where I realized that my ultimate goal, anything I'm creating, whether I'm writing poems, I'm writing short stories, I'm writing articles, or I'm taking pictures, is that I want all my creative works to outlive me. I want them to be timeless. I love nothing more.
It's
than,
about your legacy.
Yes, yes, and legacy is the only thing that you have control over that will live forever. When you see people line up at museums and galleries to look at Gordon Parks' photography, and Gordon Parks has been dead for several years now, you realize that people will always line up to see his works. His legacy and his stamp on this world is so evident and so strong that he essentially will just live forever.
Right.
And it occurred to me that that's really the goal of many artists, whether you're a singer, whether you're an actor, whether you're a rapper, a dancer. You want to birth something, give something to the world
Absolutely.
that will always be there and will define you to a degree. And so that became my mantra, was to be immortal. I want to give something that will never die, will never be able to be erased. And I try to appeal my clothing line to like-minded people, who want to put something out into the world that will always be there, that has that never-ending staying power.
That's that immortality.
Yes.
And so the business, you made your goal.
I made my goal, and I'm in the process now of making my initial order. The purpose of doing the Kickstarter was that I didn't have the capital to be able to purchase inventory. I had the idea, I had the format, had the website, had the designs, but in order for me to get going and really get out there, I needed to be able to buy a bulk of shirts, sell those shirts, and get those shirts out there. I just didn't have the capital to make that big bulk of shirts, because I had been selling and ordering 1 or 2 shirts at a time, and that's just kind of selling shirts for what I paid for it.
Who did the design?
Me and a good friend of mine, David Walker, because I'm not a graphic designer. I try to be one at times, but that's one thing that I'm not the best at. And so my buddy David Walker really helped me in shaping the website and some of my logos and designs and everything.
So how are you going to market these shirts?
A lot of it is going to be word of mouth and getting people to wear them. And as people wear them, hopefully I had to create interest. Where'd you get that shirt from? What's that all about? And trying to appeal to where I feel creative people are at, bloggers, t-shirt and artistic bloggers, and just where I can find a community of people like me that I think will latch on to the concept and want to represent it.
Absolutely. Well, ladies and gentlemen, here he is, Kahn Davison, someone I admire very, very much. He has achieved and he continues to achieve. The sky is the limit. He already has set his legacy in motion. He's an example to many young people. And what is your website?
You can go to my website, kahnd.com, because it links to all my other websites. So www.kahnd.com.
Okay, thank you, Kahn. And ladies and gentlemen, make sure you stay tuned for Table Talk. Table Talk will be on in just a few minutes. And we have some good topics today. A lot of Detroit-oriented topics. So we'll see you soon.